go. Did anybody hear from the ISU today that they want to We'll give them away to somebody we know.
I have to do it quietly because he's asleep. Oh, he's awake now?
Yeah, you can do it louder.
Hudson had a doctor's appointment earlier, and so he's like trying to sleep through it all. You join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dwayne?
Our most gracious and wonderful Father in heaven, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for the Rotary Club and all the good it does around this community and around the world. Be with us, Father, to make the right decisions, that make our place here a better place to live, and to make help those in need of clean water and eradicate these dreaded diseases. Be with us, Father, protect us. We thank you so much for Jesus, your Son and our Savior. We thank you for the food this evening. Bless us, nourish our bodies. Let your will be done in all things. In Jesus' name we pray.
All right, Fred and Mary.
Well, Austin's awake and this one's for him. So, my Bonnie lies over the ocean. I know everybody knows all the words to that. And everybody says, yeah. No, we do it anyway. My body lies over the ocean. My body lies over the sea. My body lies over the ocean. Bring back my body to me. Bring back. Bring back, oh bring back. Oh bring back my body to me, to me. Bring back, oh bring back. Oh bring back my body to me. Do I have company? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. A little bit of a story behind that. We told Fred that whenever we brought Hudson home, we have a couple different things that help him get to sleep, and one of them is this otter that you press his belly, and then it like mimics breathing, and there's a light. One of the songs is that, and so every time it plays, we think of Fred singing that at Rotary, so it's kind of a fun little thing. We have a couple guests here. Mary Jo, you introduce your guest?
We have with me today Judah Lorman. She was our speaker a few weeks back, and she is interested in becoming a member.
Wonderful. Welcome back. Michelle, do you want to introduce your guest now or when you have your little presentation in a minute?
Well, I'll say I have Donna Price and Pamela Fisher with me, and then we'll talk about why they're here with me when I do the presentation.
All right, perfect. Michelle's being very cryptic, but glad you guys are here. Thank you. And I think last time as an official guest before we induct our newest member, Roger, you want to introduce her one last time as a guest?
Yes, this is Patty Robinson, and she will be inducted next week as our newest member.
She will. Yeah. Well, glad we have all our wonderful guests here. Who's happy about something? I know we've got a lot to be happy about going on here, so I'll kick it off. Hudson had his 6-month doctor's appointment today. He's growing like he should. He's fat like he should be, and just as healthy. So our doctor and everybody up at our doctor's office is they always are excited to see him because his fat cheeks and everything. That's what everybody tells us about him, how fat his cheeks are. So I think he might be getting a little self-conscious about that. Right? But he's doing well. So who else is happy about something? I think that's it. Yeah, Rob.
Yes, I'm going to sign and drive today. However, on Saturday we took 25 people over to Perfect North and went skiing. And I'm happy to report of the 25, not a one made it into the ski patrol medical office, nor were there any ER visits this year. So that was, I would call that around.
How are you feeling though?
Knees are just a little sore. Now I held up just fine.
Good.
A lot of fun. And we had our reflections last night, the regular troop meeting with the scouts, and they all not only loved it, already want to do it again next year and decided that maybe this would be kind of the good reunion, because we have a couple boys about to age out, and thought it might be a good reunion each year that we'll just bring the troop back together and do it as a team like that. So, anyway, my happy buck is making up down the hill just fine with all the
Awesome. Well, good to see you. Glad you could see me. Who else is excited about something?
I'm happy that Jesus watches over and takes care of us. We had a accident a couple weeks ago on the farm, and tomorrow morning my son gets to go get a skin graft. And that's working out faster than we thought it would.
Oh, good. Who else is happy about something? If you haven't been following on Facebook, we do have an almost national celebrity in the room. I think he's ranked 357th in the world for national cornhole tournaments or something like that. Chad, you got something? You were getting ready to raise your hand probably about that, right?
No, I was not. I was actually going to just raise my hand and say I was happy for the turnout we had at the bingo last weekend. It was an incredible event. A lot of members came and helped, which made it very much less stressful for the ones that have done it the past 2 years. So ended up, looks like I think we're going to be over $8,000 again in donations, which puts us...
You're being hit. That's an announcement in a minute.
And so that puts us over $25,000 we donated.
Apparently he competes at cornhole and with his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I won my cornhole tournament, doubles tournament.
All right, who else is happy about something?
You turn that prize money in, right?
Yeah.
Anybody want to share anything they're excited or happy about? Well, we did have a really fun bingo night, and I will invite Stephanie up to give the official report. The report Chad just gave was not official. No, you can do it back there. That's fine. You can stand back there. That's fine. But this is the official report.
The official report is this was the best bingo yet. We raised $8,708.93. That will be going back to the 4-H fairgrounds for a total of $24,809.19 from the 3 bingos that we've done. I think that's pretty good. Oh yeah, and of that, the Rotary Club has also received $2,000 from doing that.
Cool. That's awesome. And when they told us, they said, okay, the doors open at 3 and then bingo then starts at 5. I'm like, there's no way we're gonna need 2 hours to get people in. We needed like 2 hours and 10 minutes to get everybody in there. Ran out of doffers.
After it started.
Yeah, it was really cool to see the excitement for bingo. And don't let Chad fool you. He said in a group text he did not want to be the one calling bingo all night. I'm pretty sure we would have had to pry the microphone away from him. And he called bingo perfectly all night. It was a really fun time. Hudson came by at the very end to help clean up, and it was really cool to see the community come together, and the Shopmeyers donating all of the prizes and everything. It's just really fun to be a part of something like that in the community. So we had 8, 9, 10, 11 Rotarians there helping out throughout the evening. So again, thank you for those who did come out, and it's really cool. Chris.
Andrew, just to point out on the bingo too, that 24,000 is what's come from the bingo and the raffles. The 4-H also has sold food all 3 times, and that what they got from the food is not including that 24,000. So they probably made over $30,000.
Oh, for sure.
Leslie did comment on that today and said that each one of them spent at least $2,000 in food.
Yes. Yeah. So that's really cool that kind of impact is being had, after 3 games like that. That's pretty cool. So, anything other announcements for the club? We do have in the back there, next to your buttons, there's the 2022 festival guides. Please take a handful if you have an office setting that you want to set on your counter or whatever to share, because we have like 200 of these back there, and we still have like 200 of last year's ones that I'm getting ready to dispose of. But we get these from somebody. They just show up. I don't know the full history on it, but take a couple of these if you want to hand out in your office and whatnot, because they're just taking up space in the back of the room, and it's not really fair to the restaurant to be storing extra stuff on top of what we already store here. I think that's all I have for announcements. At this time, we're going to have Michelle come up, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker. She said she was a little nervous. I don't understand how Michelle can be nervous because
I am nervous.
she's involved in so many cool things in the community. So I'm excited about this. She wouldn't even tell me what her presentation was about today. So everybody, please welcome Michelle on up to the podium.
Do you guys want to come up here with me? Just come up here and sit close because you're such a big part of this. So. Plus, I need you for moral support. I'm going to share with everybody a little bit about myself that I'm 100% sure nobody in the room knows. Because it's always been a very private talent of mine. Not private in the sense that I haven't done things with it and been involved in organizations and schooling and even received some recognition in a variety of ways over the years. But I'm a writer, and I have been since I was a child. And like a lot of, actually, to be perfectly blunt, it's kind of the core of who I am. If somebody were to say to me, what's the most important thing to you? Obviously, children and husband, and I'm not talking about the people that I love, but the one thing that means the most to you, it is what I've done with my writing over the years. And I have embarked on a couple of journeys, projects with local organizations when I lived in the Indianapolis area that didn't come to fruition, and then life gets in the way, and you take jobs where you earn an income and do things that are a little bit more grounded. But a few years ago, when I was diagnosed with cancer, ironically enough, I knew in my heart that at the end of my life, if some of these pieces went out there, whether there were 100 of them sitting on somebody's nightstand or 10,000 of them, that would be the thing that I would regret most if I didn't do something with it. So I restarted the process of collaborating with illustrators and other key people, and there are 2 of my pieces that we are getting into print. And even though everything I write, in fact, a majority of what I write are not children's pieces, these happen to be children's pieces. And I wrote them probably 20-some years ago, if that gives you any idea about how you kind of keep getting derailed off the journey of the thing that can mean the most to you. Donna here is an extremely talented artist. She has illustrated several books before, including Otto Thornworth, which was, the jockey, the little southern funny jockey that came in here and spoke in front of all of us. And then we all know that Pamela Fisher runs the Launch Academy. This particular piece that I want to share with you, I had always envisioned and actually started with a group in Indianapolis, Noble of Indiana, at one point, having children do the base illustrations and then having those enhanced and added to, and you'll see why when I read you the piece. So I'm going to quit rambling and let the words speak for themselves and then show you an example of the style of artwork that will be in it. But I've collaborated with these 2 lovely ladies. The illustrations that we're going to be working with were done by Pamela Fisher's students. She was kind enough, I went in there and was able to read it to all of her class, and they made a big project out of it. And a couple weeks later, she had a stack of illustrations this tall, and we've had to weed through and choose which ones we're using. And then Donna is taking her artistic abilities and enhancing those illustrations, and the book will be going into print, and hopefully we'll see it all over the county and see where it goes from there. There will be a benefit to Launch Academy. Obviously, they're a huge part of this, and we all know what Launch Academy does. If nobody's ever, I doubt that many of you have, but I had the benefit of sitting in that classroom and watching how this woman and her teachers interact with those children. And boy, if I knew it was right before, I really did by the end of that, because she's an amazing person, and her children love her, and she's just a gift to children. So, this piece is called If a Bird Could Not Fly. If a bird could not fly, it would not need wings. A bee would be pointless without things to sting. What good would a cat be if it couldn't purr? Why bother with bunnies without their soft fur? Giraffes wouldn't make you laugh without their long necks. Woodpeckers would cease to be without wood to peck. Goldfish would have to float without fins to swim. Fireflies would just be flies if their rear ends went dim. If owls could not hoot, then what would they be? Where would the squirrels hide if they couldn't climb trees? If monkeys weren't funny, then zoos wouldn't bother. Whales wouldn't have blowholes if they could not squirt water. Spiders would starve if they could not weave webs. Ostriches would have to see if they couldn't bury their heads. Where would the ants live without their ant hills? Ducks couldn't quack if they didn't have bills. Without nests, then chickens couldn't lay eggs. An octopus would be renamed without his 8 legs. Dogs would not wag if they no longer had tails. We wouldn't know slow if we didn't have snails. If lions stopped roaring, they'd be really boring. The sky would seem bare if eagles stopped soaring. If snakes couldn't slither, they'd just be big worms. Squid wouldn't be squishy if their bodies were firm. Without his humps, we'd call a camel a horse. And to know what is smelly, we need skunks, of course. All creatures have purpose, some reason for being, no matter how strange they may sometimes seem. Different is fun. Are you different too? What gifts do you have that make you be you? So what we did was we had the children, there were 19 animals, all sit down in a big group project, which must have been a lot of chaos for Pamela, and put together their versions of those animals. And just to give you an example of the style of the artwork that will be in the book, let me get this opened up again. This is an example of the style. When I say example, what I mean is the name we have on this drawing, because each child will be acknowledged. And I didn't put the real name because we don't have all the consents signed by the parents yet, so once we get those in order and everything, we'll have the name and the age of the child. I don't know how well all of you can see this. And this is an example of, this is the trees done by one child, and the lion done by another. And then Donna was able to enhance it with, extra grass and the bunny. So in some cases, the children did, I mean, if you were to look at the drawings by themselves, you'd be like, a 3-year-old did that. But when you do this to it, it really brings out what I had always envisioned the pictures bringing out. So that's just an example, and all the children will be acknowledged, and Donna is working hard on those right now. So now once that's done, and I have 3 pieces I'm going to read you, because the second one is Donna will be doing with her own original artwork the other piece that we'll work on after this. So we'll get these in print. We're probably just a couple months away from that. And then Donna will be doing this, and I haven't decided which organization that I would like to benefit with this. I'm kind of waiting for that to find me, and we're trying to get through this one first. But this is called The Field with One Flower. It's also another children's piece. And I actually do better with this trying to do it without reading it. A rare flower budded and broke the soil. In a field full of weeds, her presence was royal. The weeds all looked over and turned a shade greener. They sensed her potential, became a bit meaner. Told her to lie down, don't bother to bloom. Told her she smelled weird, denied her perfume. But this bud was strong, her stalk free of nettles. She let herself blossom and opened her petals. Her color was brilliant, her nectar was sweet. But the weeds, they all laughed, made fun of her feet. You may look good now, the weeds all did say, but you don't belong here, now wither away. This field is for weeds, for those that are strong. We'll never accept you, you'll never belong. She dug her roots deeper, looked up to the sky. She drank in the sun's rays, refusing to die. Her stalks sprouted more stalks, and new flowers grew. No longer just one, now she was a few. The weeds, they grew nervous, thought maybe it's time for us to move back, for now there are 9. So they pulled up their roots, moved to the side, transplanted themselves, found places to hide. New buds kept budding, kept dropping new seeds. New stalks kept sprouting, kept driving out weeds. The weeds, they grew nervous, they moved further back. This field that was once theirs was under attack. As each flower formed, it too took up space in the field that the weeds claimed had once been their place. The weeds, they gave up, they withered away. The flowers too many, not one weed did stay. And now that field, that once weed-choked place, is a blanket of color and flooded with grace. And that one will have very brilliant artwork with a lot of animation in the weeds, faces, and, you know, so Don is the artistic one on that. Okay. And in closing, I mentioned that a lot of my pieces are not necessarily children's pieces, but something else about myself is I'm very comfortable in having a very strong relationship with God and prayer. Never really been somebody who has been really ingrained in a specific church or anything. I was raised by hippies in the 70s, exposed to a lot of different religions, which I always felt like was a blessing, and am a theology buff. And at times where I felt like I needed prayer, I often caught myself repeating a prayer that I had memorized, that we all have memorized, and just doing it without really absorbing the power of prayer. So I wrote myself my own serenity prayer, and my whole motivation behind this was oftentimes things happen in life and we find ourselves praying for them to change. You know, God, make this happen and everything will be better. And I reached a point where I was like, I want a personal prayer that allows me to just say to God, you know, I might throw a spiritual temper tantrum and I might kick and scream, but I'm going to go through this with you. I'm going to go through this because I have to go through this and I'm not going to change that. All I ask is that you hold me through it. And so I guess I envisioned my body, you know, trying to just, in a moment of solace, being able to be surrounded by the power of God. And then it gave me more, less fear about walking through it. So I'm going to close with this prayer, and I think this is a good group to share this with. I prayed, hold on a second.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I prayed for your guidance. Please grant me sweet sight. Open my ears to hear what is right. Accept the surrender of all I have been. Force upon me this new life. Let's start again. Enter my mind. I've invited you in. Point out my unknowing. Point out my past sins. Stand up before me those that I've hurt. I beg of you, dear Lord, keep me alert. Enter my mouth. Of my tongue do take hold. Please grind down its sharpness. Keep it noble and bold. Force into my lungs a purified air. I'll exhale my fears. Breathe in your sweet care. Take hold of my heart. Please mend its cracked surface. Bathe it in knowing this life has such purpose. Pump through my veins a blood that is pure, no longer made toxic by things I've endured. Attach to my spine, make it stand tall and proud. Align it with greatness, your glorious shroud. My shoulders unburden of past sins of pride, for now they must carry urns of tears you have cried. Grab hold of my arms, let my hands do your deeds. I'll welcome their roughness from sowing your seeds. Crack open my ribs, expose all my guts. Purge me of false fears, of questions and buts. Because now when I wonder where I'll find needed strength, I'll know that I'm pure, cleaned out with your faith. Enter my bowels, where putrid fears lie. Force out all that garbage, cleanse me inside. Come into my loins, my life-giving force. Bless my sweet children, help them follow your course. Brace up my weak legs, make them sturdy and strong. Your path they will choose, though the road may be long. Plant my feet firmly, steady my gait. Bless me, release me down the path of my fate. Amen. And that's all by my book. But thank you, Donna and Samuel, for coming for support.
I don't know about you guys, but can you just feel it? I mean, I feel her words, and there's so much more meaning behind those words. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It really is.
Any questions?
You have a publisher or are you self-publishing?
We are self-publishing. I have met with a couple of publishers over the years, but we are self-publishing. My decision to finally do something with this had, like I said, it had more to do with not getting to the end of my life and having done something that I was always so fearful of doing. Did a great job of instilling that in my children. I have a daughter who's an actress in LA because, you know, I looked for where her strengths were, and I didn't push her into sports because the one time we did put her in sports, she was horrendous at it, but she had an artistic ability, and it evolved into, you know, becoming an actress. And all three of my children, I did a great job, but then I realized once they were raised and everything that I had kept putting what I was most passionate about on the back burner. So it's not about, you know, trying to get 1 million copies out there. It's just about doing something that, you know, has always been important to me but had never been done.
She has several other stories already written that are just amazing.
I actually have a lifetime of writings. In fact, when I was sick, one of the things my mother said to me when she came over and was taking care of me was, I hate to ask you this, but where are your writings? And so I had to take her into the room and show her all these briefcases full of writings because she promised that she would do something. If nothing else, give them out to family members or something. But just, yeah. So.
I just want to applaud you for stepping out and doing that. I think it's wonderful when you take that step.
Thank you.
And I think we all need to do that.
Yeah.
As we get older, to reassess and go out and do something you really want to do, but you never thought you ever would.
Yeah, it's like that saying, it sounds like a cliche to say that, but there's, you know, funny thing about cliches is there's an element of truth in them. That's why they exist.
You'll never regret the things you did in that vein. You'll regret what you didn't do.
And it was always important to me that if anything ever happened, that it would be of benefit to other organizations or groups of people or things that I'm passionate about. So maybe it worked out this way because it needed to wait until I ran into them randomly. So.
Did you have a timeline on the children's books on when they would be out?
The first one, we're probably a couple months away. Donna knows more about the printing time, and she's doing a lot of, yeah, so probably just a couple months away. And honestly, what I'm gonna do with so many great businesses and all the great contacts I've had here in Clay County, with everything I've become involved in, is to start out with our local retailers. I don't know that there's a retailer in town that would say no to having a little stand with some of those books for sale, especially when you've got, you know, the Launch Academy and so many well-known, well-established groups in this county. So that's where we'll start, is on the streets.
How many are you expecting to have?
Well, I think I'm probably going to have, what did I say the other day with the number quantity that we were going to order?
I thought you said
200. Start out with 200
Okay.
and kind of go from there. Yeah.
I want quite a few.
And then she's working on, she knows how to do, see, it's so strange because I randomly met her. You know, the day that I met her, we had no idea this was going to happen.
Right. I showed you a picture of an eagle I drawn.
Yeah, so, and she knows how to go through the publishing process and everything like that. Would you ask me before that?
How many?
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, my brain's starting to shut down because
Yeah.
I'm nervous. Oh, ISBN number, she understands that, and how to get on Amazon and everything like that. Which Amazon is not all it's cut out to be when you're talking about selling written work, so.
I have another, it's not really a question, but I read a lot of library books that my 6-year-old has brought home here recently, and none of them make sense. Those 2 books really make sense,
Yeah.
and I really like them.
Some of
Thank
the kids'
you.
books are just nonsense.
The ones he brought home this week is the worst.
I did, just, you know, when you talk about, like, sometimes you get shot down when you're doing creative processes. And I had the benefit one time of meeting with the publisher in Terre Haute, children's book publisher, that had printed the raccoon book that was sent after a major school shooting to comfort the children. It had involved a raccoon.
The kissing hand.
Kissing hand.
Yeah.
And I wasn't living in Terre Haute at the time, but I'll never forget because I went in there thinking, what an opportunity. How did I even end up in front of this person? How has she agreed to meet me in Terre Haute at a little cafe and discuss this with me? And, you know, it was such a blessing to have that happen. And so I did, and I was so excited, and I anticipated something happening from it, and I slid my work to her, and she slid it back and didn't read it. Very nice. Spent a lot of time with me, gave me a lot of advice, everything like that. But that derailed me for a good 10 years. You know? Because that's what happened. But then you think about what I wrote. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, my stories tell me not to do that. But I did it. You know? It's just a human experience, I guess, so.
Well, make no doubt, you are talented, okay? Don't ever doubt yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It requires other talented people, so. Anything else? Okay.
You can breathe now.
She can breathe, yeah.
Yeah. All right, now it makes sense why you're a little bit nervous. You have no reason to be. No reason to be. And Megan's over here. She's like, I want that book.
What did she say?
She wants that book.
Well, good.
Can we get an autographed copy of it, or
Absolutely.
we charge extra for that? So, but yeah, like children's books and children's songs are the most crazy industry I've ever didn't know really existed 6 months ago. But like now that we've been listening to a bunch of children's songs, like you could come up with anything, make it rhyme, and have a goofy tune to it. It doesn't have to make sense at all. There's like one song that he really loves. It's about taking a walk in the woods, and all it is they're walking in the woods. That's it. It's the words. It's 4 words. It's terrible. It drives us crazy. Dwayne. Probably should. Get back up here, Michelle. We're going to give you the Rotary emblem.
Soon to be published author.
Soon to be published.
Well, should we all have all 3 if it's gonna be in the paper?
Yeah.
If it goes
Yeah.
in the paper.
Yeah. Okay, Pam says no. She says no. She said no.
They're gonna kill me because she hurt her back. And she had a crazy morning, and both of them were like, I'm trying. I'm like, you have to be there. I don't care if your back is broken. So they're not going to let you take their picture today.
Okay.
Unless Pamela.
You'll be mentioned.
I don't.
It's all on you, babe. You deserve this.
Yeah. All right, you know what's on it, the Rotary 4-way test.
Well, make sure to bring copies to Rotary.
And you probably need to do more than 200, because by the time you have all the kids,
I mean, have you thought-
illustrations, the parents and the grandparents,
I haven't
that'll be
done
the first 200.
Do you have a what?
I have a children's book.
Sounds like you just sold out already. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your stories. And like Mary Jo said, it takes courage to stand up in front of even though we're a group of friends, it takes courage to do that. And we really appreciate you opening that up and I know Megan's excited. We're really excited to actually get some good children's books in. So keep us posted. Let us know when we can get our hands on a signed copy of one of those for Hudson. So anything else for the club before we close today? All right. So I'm terrible at ringing this bell, and I realized that like if any of you have a bell on your desk at like wherever you work, and I come in to your office and it says ring bell to get, I will not ring that bell. I'm so nervous about that because I'm either afraid I'm going to ring it too lightly and nobody's going to hear me, or I'm going to ring it way too hard and they're going to think I'm mad or something like that. So I'm the same way with this thing. So we'll rise, say the 408 test, and we'll be dismissed for this week. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? As appropriate. Thank you.